and welcome to a new episode of our Beyond Core podcast, the podcast for business leaders who dare to think beyond today's success and build a future. As you know, in every episode, we dive deep into strategies and ventures of established companies and how they build new businesses based on platform economics, ecosystem strategies, and entrepreneurial execution. Our guests are industry leaders and pioneers who are shaping what's next. And today, I'm really happy to welcome Volker, and together we will explore the topic of house building, office building, and how CREE, an Austrian construction technology company, is transforming how houses are built and how network effects and ecosystem strategies play a pivotal role in this hardcore B2B business. Hello, Volker.
Hello, Matthias.
Yeah, Volker is Director Business Development at CREE since 2016, and he has not only a deep knowledge about how houses are built, but he's also shaping the strategy of CREE, and we are really happy to have him in our podcast to talk about the history of CREE, but also the future of house building and how CREE, with their platform approach, is shaping this industry. So welcome, Volker, and maybe we can start with a short introduction about yourself. I briefly started, but you are much better in describing who you are and what you are doing at CREE. And also please share with our audience a bit more about what is CREE, what are you doing, because not everybody is an expert in house building and construction, etc. So I'm sure not everybody heard about CREE, so maybe you can also give a short introduction about who you are and what you are doing.
Sure. Thank you, Matthias, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I really admire what you have put together with your platform and sharing deep learnings from different sectors. And I'm happy that I can contribute a little bit from our perspective. Simply on me, my name is Volker Weisenberger. I'm from Austria. I live in Switzerland. I've been in real estate for many years, and I've joined the construction sector as an outsider, as you said, in 2016. I was looking for something more purposeful, something that is, has the possibility to change how conventional things are done. And when I met the founder of CREE in 2015, I was really inspired by what he was putting together. CREE at that time was a concept that originated from a research project that was conducted in 2008 and initiated by Hubert Romberg. Hubert Romberg is the operator of a large Austrian general contractor and developer in the fourth generation. And he, in 2008, went to his father and said, we need to do construction differently. There's too much inefficiencies, too much waste, too much prototyping. Labor is not infinite, so skilled labor is going to get shorter in the future. Materials are going to get more scarce, and construction prices are inevitably going to go up, right? And in order to do this more efficiently, he was looking a little bit outside the box of what's happening. And he was at a resource forum in Switzerland and was really inspired by Friedrich Schmidt-Blake, who was looking at the inefficiencies of construction at that time. And what Hubert did in 2008 is basically convince his board to invest money in looking in alternatives. And CREE is an outcome of that research project that Hubert initiated in 2008. And today, CREE is a global operating construction technology collective with a chassis, a building system behind it that CREE has licensed to dozens of large construction companies that have a design build mentality. So these are construction companies that are not just tendering on construction projects that are coming on the market, because typically in tenderings, you cannot really introduce innovations. It's too risky to do so. And the ambition of CREE is to do buildings in a more industrialized manner, with the ability to harvest the learnings from each project and loop them back to all the players involved in this ecosystem. So they are collectively learning, even though they are operating in different places of the world. They have all the same level of knowledge from every project, and so are able to scale in their marketplaces in different asset classes more efficiently with less people, etc., etc.
This sounds first very visionary. As you said, Hubert Romberg came to the conclusion we need to do something different. Then you had this kind of technology breakthrough based on this research project. I, as an outsider, always call it, it looks a bit like Lego bricks, and you kind of industrialize Lego bricks, and now you have Lego bricks built out of wood and concrete, and now you can make buildings and build buildings much easier, faster, etc. But we come to that in a second. And but you also describe really already some kind of platform economics, kind of network effect. So it's not only your customers can benefit from the technology, but they also contribute something back. So there are different points you already mentioned in your introduction, and I know you also prepared some slides, so maybe we can go step by step through those aspects, and you can a little bit showcase also to our audience what is CREE, because it's sometimes just by words hard to understand. So maybe some pictures will help for people to understand, okay, what exactly is CREE when they talk about those Lego bricks and this technology.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm going to share some slides here that give you a little bit of an idea of who we are and what actually motivated us to invest money in this type of business, right? So CREE, as I said to you before, was an invention by Hubert Romberg. That's the gentleman that you see here with the blue shirt, and Hubert in 2014, 2015 brought in a new shareholder, Zech. Zech is a German builder and developer, one of the largest in Germany. And in the recent years, also Grupo Casais from Portugal. You see here on the picture Antonio Carlos. He is the CEO of Grupo Casais. Both Zech and Casais are also privately held and operated. So these are all family businesses. And together, they bring in a vast level of experience from the sector of building conventionally, but also sharing that ambition to make construction more efficient and more faster and more sustainable.
And as you said, it's a collective, so you have 70 companies. So this is already referring to a bit of an outlook to, it's not just, or it's the network you build, and it's not 1,000 of customers, it's 70, but it's also a huge number when it comes to B2B.
That's right. I mean, we knew as a group. You have to imagine when we built the first CREE building in 2012, it won all the Oscars that you can win, because it was done so fast, and it won so many awards, and it attracted a lot of attention from around the world. So CREE had, between 2012 and 2015, as you can see here on the chart, it had a lot of visitors. It had about 3,000 visitors every year. And the question from these visitors were, can you help us do this way of building in our marketplace? So it meant a shift in the way CREE itself saw itself, coming from a research project, executing their first building project, doing other CREE building projects in the developments of Romberg in the preceding year. But in 2015, there was a shift in the company where the management decided, okay, we will stop building ourselves, and we will help these other construction companies around Europe, but then it expanded also to Asia and North America, to help them scale this type of system in their marketplace. The ambition was really to change the way construction is done and to make that build sector more sustainable by using timber-based components in these buildings that sequester carbon. And so overall, these buildings are extremely, extremely sustainable if you compare them to conventional buildings.
And it also shows perfectly for me, this is a typical growth curve when you look at B2B. So in B2C, you always see those growth curves, hockey stick effects, and then they have in 2-3 years, they have millions of customers. In B2B, it takes a while. And in construction, it maybe even takes a little bit longer because you need to build those buildings. And this is something which takes time, right?
Exactly. I mean, the industry, Matthias, where I was working before, I was working in real estate transactional business, where we did, as a group that I worked for, about 250,000 transactions per year. And so I was coming from a very fast-paced environment. When you come to construction, to the construction sector, it's just much longer cycles. Typically, if you look at real estate projects from the initial idea until they have a building permit, until something is actually built, 3, 4, 5 years is not seldom that projects come about, right? So the cycles in construction are longer, and the whole sector, the whole construction sector, is much more conservative when it comes to embracing new way of doing something, right? It's very silo driven. You have a lot of experts working parallel to each other, but not with each other, so to say, right? So I think this is where the industry, you can say, has a model that creates a lot of inefficiencies. Yeah, and so what we do is we created a building system that allows for large volume buildings to happen much faster. And in order to execute such projects, you need local partners, and such local partners are construction companies that have a deep understanding of how such building projects are being delivered to the market. And what they are missing is basically a building system with a proven track record already there, that they can just add into their company. This is where we support them, and we help exploit that into their market, right? And they basically step on the shoulders of the ones that have already been doing this. So all the learnings and innovations that take place in such projects, they typically get lost. When you think about the sheer amount of construction companies that are existing in Europe alone, I mean, we're talking about more than 3 million construction companies operating in Europe with an average of about 10 to 20 workers, right? And with every project that they do, they treat projects like a prototype. It's like you have to imagine, if the car industry would build cars like that, you would get your BMW with post-its on the door where it says, okay, the door was delivered in the wrong color. There's a change order here. There's a change order here. And if you were a customer, you would probably never order a car again, because that's not how you want that, right? In the building sector, because every building is more or less a prototype, you have a dozen or 100 different companies coming together, creating a complete new supply chain, delivering a project, and then when the project is completed, they all go off to a new project in different constellations with a new supply chain. And I think a root cause of that is just that's how construction has been over many decades. And what is also contributing to that is that they don't have the clients with repetition, so they cannot really scale building projects so easily. And I think that is one of the things that make the sector very fragmented and silo driven, right? But when you look at buildings as a product, then a product, as you said before, is like a Lego puzzle. It consists of a kit of parts. And if you have a building system, you can productize that. So you can say, okay, if you apply that building system to an asset class like student housing or hotel or flex living or micro living, whatever you call it, and you interview real estate asset companies, real estate capital companies, you interview developers, you interview the tenants, you very quickly find out what are their pain points and what do they really want, and then you can tailor such products much, much better to their market needs. And we have, with our global network, created the distribution points with construction companies where we can flow new product extensions into these pipelines and scale them in the local markets, right? So we decided not to build ourselves anymore in order to turn ourselves into a marketing organization where we created a brand name that attracts volume and where we created a distribution network with construction companies, trained them in order to flow that volume that is coming in through them.
And this is exactly also very, very important for platforms that are multi-sided businesses. So you not only need to look at the demand side, but also on the supply side. And this is exactly what you have done, right? So you do with the marketing approach, the demand side. So you help them to do the marketing, to win investors, to sell houses, etc., new projects. And on the other side, you also ensure with the supply side that there is a supply available in the local market.
Exactly. And I'm just trying to see, because I've prepared some slides for you. When you accumulate these different stakeholders, and in our case, it's construction companies, it's companies that work in design and engineering. We call them creators. So these are companies that work in architecture or structural engineering or focusing on the mechanical engineering and plumbing, on the heating and cooling of buildings, right? You accumulate a lot of these type of companies, and what you want is retain them because they have already gathered knowledge on using such a building system in projects. And so you have different data streams. You have data from projects. How did they perform in operation, in construction, in the construction phase? You have data from projects. How are they operating? How are these buildings performing in operation? And then you also have financial data. So how were these buildings financed? How did they perform in the financial realm? And all this data is relevant to different stakeholders in the group, right? So real estate capital wants to know, how do your buildings perform? And then they do a forensic due diligence to benchmark your buildings that you're doing in a system with their conventional buildings, right? And then they say, okay, these buildings from CREE, for example, because they have a building system behind it, they perform better or are better, they're less risky in the execution. So creating a platform is important because you somehow need to retain that knowledge and you need to give access to those stakeholders that need that information to the platform, right? And I think what is unique is that there's all this building system behind it. It's like Intel behind it, and in my opinion, as an outsider coming into this sector, CREE is like a bridge, a conduit between the ambition of real estate capital and real estate development. And I think the building system unites these two ambitions. It makes it less opportunistic. It makes it more predictable, more plannable. Real estate capital can make it easier to repeat in a certain asset class in multiple locations, because there's the same system behind it. A BMW that you build in Munich is the same BMW that you build in Texas. You know, if you take this analogy from using a chassis, you know, and I think this made it very important to create a platform that allows us to loop back all these learnings and innovations to the partners.
Yeah, I mean, they invest, right? And they are looking for their return of investment, as you said. I invest in, I mean, you convince them about the new technology. They learned about it. Now they invested by maybe building one, but also educating their own resources about the technology. They build the first house, the first building, so they learn and learn. So they also need to think about, okay, how can I reuse this learning, this education thing I went through? And I think this is also something you showed before, is it's not only about you can build buildings faster, but you can also rebuild or remodel buildings easier. So it's only about, as you said, there are a lot of investors behind. I invest in building this office or this house or whatever, this new building. And behind this project are investors, and they think about, okay, maybe in 30 years or whatever, I need to remodel the house. So how can I use the shell of the house, but I maybe repurpose the building, going from, I don't know, a school into an office or into something else. So my investment or half of my investment can be reused or something like that. And your technology enables them doing that. So the return of investment is much higher.
Yeah, you create flexible structures. And if you look at Saudi Arabia, for instance, they have to build, I believe it's 320,000 hotel rooms in the next 5 years for their expo. And that's a staggering amount of buildings that they have to deploy to the market. And when the expo is over, they have all these buildings then, hotel buildings. And you can just imagine if the purpose of this building needs to change now to office buildings or to student housing or flex living or multifamily, whatever, it's very difficult to repurpose them if you have these rigid load-bearing walls in the middle of your floor space, right? So an intelligent system needs to bring in that flexibility that allows real estate capital, like you see here on the picture, to create floor spaces without any load-bearing walls very, very easily, right? And when you look at the materials, you want to reuse them again. So you also want to have the flexibility to use elements in another building again, in the life cycle, right? So those are all platform thinkings, that's all important to look at buildings holistically from the design all the way to the dismantling. Yeah.
And to round up the introduction of CREE and where you are today, maybe you can also a bit of explain how your business model works. I mean, this is also, I mean, you talked about the platform approach with your partners, etc. But can you also a bit of more explain how is your business model? I mean, if you're not build the houses by yourself, is it a SaaS model? What is the business model behind?
We have started when we started to roll out the CREE technology and to license it to other construction companies. What we wanted to do is create a network and some rules in belonging to that network, because when you want to be part of a network, you're looking for partners that want to collaborate, not only with you as the technology giver, but you also want these companies to collaborate with the other partners in the network, right? Because you want to accelerate learnings and so on, right? So you're on the one side looking for a certain caliber of partner that has that design build mentality. Let me just tell you why design build is important for us, right? When you are an innovative construction company and you invest in innovation, you need a real estate client that allows you to bring in those innovations in order for the client to reap all the efficiencies of what you're bringing to the table. So design build or design to cost allows that. It enables that. It brings the client, the real estate developer, and the construction company on an eye-to-eye level, and they collaborate in the best interest of the client. And this is our approach. When you look at that traditional way, how building projects are done, in the vast majority, they are tendered on the market. That means somebody designed it, and then it is put on the market, and then construction companies bid, and whoever is the cheapest, they win it, typically, right? But then the construction companies actually make their margins and profits with the change orders or the design errors that were done before it was tendered. And so this business model, in our opinion, is flawed because it doesn't deliver a project in an efficient way. And the ultimate paymaster that pays for all of this is the real estate client, who is not a construction company, but he's sort of forced into this old way of doing things. Design build is better. And so we look for partners that have a design build mentality. They have a mentality for industrialization. So they want to scale, and they invest in an infrastructure that allows them to prefabricate elements locally, right? So when we started to roll out in 2016, we started to look for these type of companies, and we have now around 20 partners. We add about 2 every year. And we have created a SaaS model, a subscription model, where we offer them several membership layers, very classic one, more premium ones. Some of them are exclusive. We train them. So our team here, we have about 30 people on our team. They're highly skilled in engineering and construction and architecture. And they have the experience from about 30 projects behind them, right? So they know what they're doing. So when we look for a construction partner in a particular country, we go through a 6 months scoping onboarding period with them, where we determine what is the cost of the CREE system in the market, what is the code compliance in their market. We do a supply chain check. So we look for the supply chain partners that are going to produce those elements that make up the building. We look at what is the asset classes that are most in demand and what is the volume behind it, so we can be able to extrapolate the business plan from that. We look at their organization, how to best onboard CREE within the organization, and then also how to approach the clients in the marketplace, right? So this is a 6 months scoping period that is mandatory. And when this 6 month scoping period is completed, then we offer them, if they check all the boxes, then we offer them a membership in our organization, which is on a monthly subscription that pretty much includes all the support services that they need in order to execute projects in their marketplace.
So it also underlines that quality is a critical KPI for you. So you cannot invite everybody to join your platform. It's really kind of a very closed platform, because you want to ensure you have the right partners on the platform, and they have the same mindset, the same understanding, and they have also this, the same understanding about quality, delivery, and sharing knowledge, etc. So this is really, really crucial for a platform. So otherwise you maybe would invite kind of black sheeps into your network, and then this will maybe
you can't avoid it because until you turn over that stone, you don't know what's underneath it, right? So we it's a learning project process where you have a very good idea who you want, but sometimes you find out that the ones that you didn't think are going to be good turn out to be fantastic, because they bring in qualities that you didn't know you want, right, in these companies, right? But over the years, I mean, we've been doing this now for a few years. You get a better feel for who you really want and why, right? Overall, I think, like in any business, you are creating a brand. That brand stands for something, and customers are willing to pay more, but they expect consistent quality, and that's why execution monitoring, quality control is at the forefront of priorities in every CREE project for that consistency, right?
So, as you now understood, it took a while to build, not only build CREE, but build up this whole network of partners and now come to this growth curves you have right now. So looking back into the last years, what would you say is maybe one of the major learnings or the major challenges you went through? One, maybe the biggest one, or one of the biggest challenges you faced and you went through, and what is the kind of a learning out of that?
For me personally, it was that real estate capital is very much the ultimate paymaster, paying for the building projects. Like the building that you see behind me, there is a fund that decided to invest in this building, deployed money, and so on. What was a bit of an aha moment for me is that they are very much removed. Real estate capital is very much removed from the actual execution of such projects, which is not a very good thing, because they can influence a faster delivery if they request it, and sustainability from the executing partner. So you have to imagine, um, the real estate developers that actually develop the land get the money from real estate capital. But there is a lot of freedom for the developer to choose whether they want to do a prefabricated building solution or they go about it in a conventional way. And for us as a building solution supplier, we are very much dependent on being selected by real estate developers in a particular project that lends itself for a systemized design. And so for us, it was a fight for survival for many years. And we were lucky that we had very strong shareholders to give us that staying power in the market, right? Because you have to uphold a certain level in the organization that is on your payroll. You have investments in the building solution, you have investments in marketing, in scaling the organization. So a lot of the proceeds that we were making were reinvested constantly, in making sure that that organization that you're building up is stable enough and strong enough. So you are reliant on volume, even though you don't own the supply chain. That means you don't own a factory that is on your payroll. You are still very much reliant on volume, right? That is coming towards you, right? So for me, the biggest aha moment was that we need to get more market share with real estate capital rather than focusing our efforts entirely on real estate developers. Because real estate capital is the ones that can, if they understand what we do, mandate us into projects because they have done a forensic due diligence on the performance of our buildings and see that we can deliver in time and in budget.
I mean, for me, it sounds really about know your real customers, right? So not only about who is using it, but really who are the customers who is paying for it at the end, and the decision makers to make a decision. Yes, we go with this kind of project or technology and with this kind of approach.
Absolutely. And Matthias, you're looking for clients that are operating in an asset class where you can do a system integration so that where there's a great fit, of course, but they scale, right? And they don't do a one-off project. They do 15, 16, 20 projects a year in multiple locations. And what they are looking for is not really copy and paste, right? Because you still want to have that design expression that blends into the local neighborhood where the building is going to be erected. But you want to have that customer that repeats. So yes, we were more focused on one-off projects in the beginning, more out of a need for survival. But over the years, we saw that it's the same amount of effort from our side to work with a client that does one project and then that was it, than focusing on clients that do multiple projects in the same asset class in multiple locations. So we are focusing primarily on these and on real estate capital that finances that.
Also, looking at the time, I would like to now focus a bit more on the future. I mean, we talked about the past and where you are right now, and a topic everybody is talking about is, of course, AI, and AI is shaping and reshaping and disrupting all kind of industries. So how do you see, will AI also reshape the construction and building industry? And is AI also a topic for you as a technology company?
For us, we started with AI, I would say about a year and a half ago, when it was still in its very early stage. And I was very positively surprised that our marketing department was one of the first ones to use AI in marketing, in executing our marketing and communication campaign. And it is now an integral part in that. It still takes people that can then know how to use AI in the project execution, in the data collection, right? Where we are going as a company is to automate the system integration into a potential project more easily without us needing to be involved. So if you imagine a real estate asset company that operates in flex living, has a portfolio, they have bought locations, they have the plans, but they're not yet in touch with us. We want to be able to give them a tool that allows them to integrate, do a system checks without getting us involved very quickly with their own team. And in exchange for that, because that's a service that we currently provide without any charge to such entities, in exchange for that, we want to have the renderings of these projects, so that our algorithms and our technology can advance and anticipate what they are needing faster. So this is something that is running in our company. When you think about what I said before, that you look at buildings as a product and you productize, we are using companies that make our buildings more efficient. So if you look at companies like Haslacher, they produce timber components. If you look at a company like Pico, they do steel elements that make our buildings more efficient. If you use a company like Gaulhofer, they do windows that make our buildings more efficient. You have companies like Rehau or Schüco or Krone Elevators, right? So you have these industry players that are operating in multiple countries, and they are working with us to make our building projects more scalable and faster executable in different parts of the world. So the learnings that they gather using our building system and vice versa, this is where AI plays a critical role, because we are looking at manufacturing critical components like the automotive industry would produce the entire front of an automotive, right? With the fender, with the lightings, with the airbag, you know, we are looking at, we're talking to a company right now, a big German player that does over 40 billion euros in annual turnover. We are looking at them right now, if they could on a pan-European level for now, produce entire components for a CREE building. So you're suddenly able to have one company that can deliver to multiple locations much, much faster, already prefabricated, right? In different locations. And this is for this supply chain logistics, logistic partners, intelligence within the building. This is where AI works. One other thing where I see a big shift where AI can help tremendously. I mentioned before that you have these 5-year cycles from a real estate company investing money in buying a piece of land, going through all the approval processes until they get a building permit, until a building is constructed. That can take up to 5 years. And that had a lot to do with the way that these silos all have their hidden agendas and rightly agendas, you know, and neighbor disputes and this and that. If you can use AI to like blockchain to consolidate their agendas into 6 months, everybody's interests being taken care of, you suddenly have AI as a bridge between all these silos, shortening the time span from 3 years to 6 months. And I think this is where AI is going to have a tremendous impact in shortening from the idea to the market of a building, you know. And then if you put building solutions behind that, you are basically able to build buildings like the automotive industry is building cars.
I mean, this reminds me also what you do with platforms in general is you unbundle the market. In your case, it's like you unbundle the whole construction and building of a building into kind of the smallest bricks in a real world, right? So you have those Lego bricks, and now you start to rebundle those things into components. You work with the elevator companies or with other companies, and they kind of build smaller components. So you start from a small Lego brick component, bundle them again into components, and this will even further accelerate the whole building and construction of things. And with AI now, based on your words, is can be seen as a kind of a clue, right? So you learn, you conduct the data, you analyze data, it helps you to build better components, etc. So it's kind of an accelerator for building those components and help to further accelerate the construction. So it sounds
Absolutely.
really nice.
Yeah, it's a new tool, and we have very bright people in our company and also in the companies of our partners and shareholders. We meet a few times a year and we look at these topics together because you don't know what you don't know. And some of these companies are much further ahead than we are, but they share their learnings and insights very freely with everyone, right? So that's what I enjoy at CREE is this collaborative, positive spirit that everyone brings to the table.
Yeah, for me, it's also a very fascinating case, CREE, how you started. It takes a long view, a long-term vision, a long-term support by your management to build, but also how you approach everything, come in with technology. So it's a very interesting case. So coming maybe to the end of our podcast, we always ask our guests about a kind of a personal learning you would like to share with other leaders. I mean, you went through this project. You are in this for about 9 years now, or almost 10 years now. And I'm sure you can talk hours and hours about personal learnings. So is there any kind of personal maybe recommendation and learning you would like to hand over to other leaders in maybe different industries, but where you say this is something you personally as a leader learned and you would like to share with other leaders?
For me, there's one thing that comes to mind, and this is when you compare that high-paced transaction environment where I was before, and you look at that more slower environment of construction, right? One thing that I noticed is that the people I worked with before, they didn't have multiple companies. They had one company that they were very much focused on. Yes, they had some side businesses, but they were more on the private level and not cannibalizing their energy from the core business. And I see in our business where we are, some of our partners are so distracted because they own so many companies and are so time consumed with managing all of these companies that a lot of the conversations are between minutes where you're trying to get their attention, right? So I think if you really want to disrupt a sector, you need to be really focused on not getting distracted. You need to get rid of the noise and you need to focus on the signal. And the signal for me is focusing on revenue generating activities, focusing in growing that network and making sure that these people that we are bringing in have that quality that you want. But in the beginning, you need more the quantity in order to be relevant on the market, and then you can start fading out, right? So just focusing on quality in the beginning is very brave, but I think that's not necessarily the right way to do it. You need to bring in the ones that have the energy and the willingness to move, but you also need to be prepared that over the years you will lose some of them, but you need to continue bringing in the ones that you really want in order to keep that group together. And to keep this group together, you need very focused shareholders and management people that are not distracted by the noise of what's going on in their other businesses all the time, right? So for me, if you want to be ahead, you need to really keep an eye on that.
This is, I can only double underline it. This is also what we share with our venture teams. Focus, 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 and try to be fast as possible to win customers, not only from a profit point of view, but more from a number point of view, to learn as fast as possible from those engagements, because it always gives you a lot of feedback you can incorporate before. So it's always better to focus on winning more customers than building the perfect product. Volker, thanks a lot for joining and sharing this fantastic journey and this those fantastic insights on CREE and Romberg. And I will put the link to CREE into the show notes. I will also put a LinkedIn link to your profile. So if people want to connect with you or want to learn more about CREE, they find all the informations in the show notes, in the notes itself. I will also continue to witness how CREE will develop in the next years. For me, it's a perfect example in a B2B case. So congratulations what you have achieved. And also, again, thank you very much for joining. It was a pleasure to talk to you and learn more about your case.
Thank you very much, Matthias. It was a pleasure speaking with you today. And also thank you for your support in taking a look at our company and our platform model.